Basically, the format that we're going to do for today is we are going to first start with a 5 to 10-minute demo from each panelist, taking through their page builder and kind of showing the features that it has and what makes it great for them to use, and maybe it would be great for you to use. Or maybe you'll learn some tricks from one of the page builders you already use that you didn't know about. After each person does like a 5 to 10-minute demo on there, then we're going to start kind of asking doing some discussion around the future of each page builder and how it's going to kind of continue to exist as the block editor grows and full page editing becomes a thing in the hopefully near future. And there'll probably be discussion, some speculation, that sort of stuff. And then after we kind of do that for a while, we'll open it up for some questions. If you do want to ask a question, there is a Q&A section. Please ask the question in that Q&A section. And you can continue to chat in the chat section, but it makes it easier to kind of figure out what is a question and what is just general chat. So if you have a question, please ask in the Q&A section. So with that, I'm going to go in the same order I did before. So I'm going to start with Mickey to demo Divi.
Surprise, surprise. Thanks, Mike.
You bet. All right. It's yours. Try to share your screen and let us know.
Yep, I'll share my screen. I'm going to start off by boring everyone with a PowerPoint, couple PowerPoint slides about Divi. Then I'll get into actually showing the demo. So let me find that here. You should be able to see my PowerPoints, correct? And there we go.
Yes, we can see it.
You could see it. Okay. All right. So just a couple, more than a couple things about Divi before I actually get into the demo. But first of all, just to give some background, Divi is both a theme and a standalone plugin, meaning that you could use the Divi plugin with other themes, or you can use the theme that Elegant Themes presents as the Divi theme. It provides all the stuff that's in the bullets there, drag and drop building, visual editing, custom CSS, responsive editing, and so on and so forth. Again, I don't want to spend all my time going through this, but it has a lot of features, a lot of flexibility, probably a lot what you find in the other page and theme builders as well. One interesting thing about Divi in terms of licensing, first of all, there's no free version of Divi, as there are in some of the others. But with your license, you get a license for unlimited sites. You can use it as much as you want, and there are both lifetime and yearly licenses. You can see the pricing there, $249 and $89 a year. One thing that I found to be really great about Divi is there's a really big worldwide community of Divi users from different companies, Facebook groups, YouTube people, so on. And you can get help with pretty much anything Divi related through either of these communities. There's a lot of tutorials and a lot of very helpful people. There's a large number of add-ons to what Elegant Themes provides, including different types of modules, child themes, code snippets, and so on. We're going to talk about the future of Divi a little bit later on, so I'll get back to all of that when we get off of the demo. So let me share my demo screen if I can find it here. Here we go. Okay. Wait, that's the Slack. Sorry, guys. Let's go here. Okay, and I need to move my bar out of the way here because it's in the way of my browser. Sorry. And let me go back here. So First of all, for those who might recognize it, I'm using a local development environment called ServerPress. So if things seem a little on the slow side, it's not because of Divi, it's because of my local laptop here. But clearly and obviously, here's the, oh, geez, sorry about that. I'm getting my shares mixed up here. I think I went back to my PowerPoint because I was trying to close it out. Oh, where am I? Here we go. Okay, sorry about that. I'm going to reshare. Find the right screen. This should be it. Yeah, here we go. So obviously this is the back end of WordPress. Let me just go into give you an idea of what this site looks like. I will first of all say that I did not design this site. This is based on a Divi template. There's a lot of things in here I wouldn't do in designing a site, such as all of this up here. It's a little bit of a crazy header. But what I want to do is just point out that we have all the standard sections you would see. There's some services, and this is a telehealth site. There are some animations and transforms going on as you scroll down. There's there's a back end, I'm sorry, a global footer and a global header here. So this is an example of a Divi, a home page that's been designed in Divi. Um, there's also other potential layouts, such as this is your standard layout of a blog page with multiple posts, and then you can go into a single post, and they have a specifically designed single post page based on the whole layout. Um, it's fairly standard, but has a lot of design flexibility. But what I wanted to do is go back to the back end and just point out that in Divi has a couple important features. One is that it's no longer just a page builder, it's also a theme builder. So again, this is just how they do their theme builder, but you'll notice that there's a default website template with a global header, a global footer. There's a template for single page posts called all posts with the same global header and a custom body that you can assign. You can assign templates to specific pages. You could change the headers, you can change the footers from the globals. And for example, let's say I wanted to redesign the global header. If I go into the edit mode here for the global header, it allows you to basically go ahead and put your design together. And I'm going to go into this on the home page. When you get into your modules, you get into your sections and rows, you save your global header, you save all this, and the changes get associated all the way through. But the main thing I wanted to show is a couple things with the page builder itself. Now, a number of people used to like to only build in the back end, which you can do. The back end, and now the back end and the front end look and operate similarly, but the back end used to be a little bit different. But if I go into the visual builder here, and just give it a second to finish loading the whole page. Divi is based on basically sections, rows, columns, and modules. So what you see here, for example, is the blue area represents a section. The green area represents a row, and if there were multiple columns, it would show the different columns. And then the The black areas represent the modules. For instance, this is a text module, this is a text module, this is a button module, and so on. If you go here, more text, this is a blurb module, another text module, which is blinking for some reason, probably because it's vertical. So on and so forth. We've got image modules with transforms, more text, another button. And the footer is, you can't adjust the footer here because it's global. It's done in the theme builder. But again, just to give you an idea, if I were to go into this blurb module, go into the settings, you get a standard settings box, which allows you to determine your content, what your image is going to be to go along with the blurb, background, links, and so on. There's a lot of design options. This, for example, you can change how the image or the icon is going to look, the text, the title text, so on. You can do spacing, which has to do with margins and padding. You can do sizing, which has to do with the size of the module. I also mentioned that this is responsive, so you could see it in a desktop mode, a tablet mode, such as what I'm showing now, and you could change your tablet view, and also a mobile mode. In addition, depending on the module, for instance, for a button, there will be a hover mode. And for other modules such as images, there's also things that you can do when you set it up. When you hover, it can change the image, it can make it smaller, it could make it move, whatever. Generally in your advanced tab, you can set up CSS IDs and classes. Depending on the module, you could provide custom CSS before, after, on the image, on the title. And again, it's particular to the kind of module that we're talking about.
You got one more minute, Mickey.
One more minute.
10.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
10 minutes. God,
wow. Wow. Well, I spent about 2 just farting around with the screen sharing.
All right. Well, we'll give you about another minute or two.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Okay. So basically, that's what I want to talk about. What I particularly like about Divi, and the reason I've used it, is that it's very, very powerful in terms of how you can design it. I mean, again, I said I wouldn't quite design this page, but there's plenty of ways to do your design, and it's quick to put together, and it can be easy or it can be complicated if you want it to be complicated. And yeah, that's really a brief overview of Divi, and I could talk about some other things later on when we get to the rest of the panel.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mickey. Very, very great overview. Cool. So next person up to give their little 5 to 10 minute demo, Win, would you like to show us Elementor?
Sure. Right. I didn't know I was next.
Said the same order that I introduced you.
Yeah, I forgot the order.
It's okay.
I forgot the order.
It's all right.
All right. So yes, I am a huge fan of Elementor. I've been using it for about 2 years. The way I found Elementor is an important story. So I started with Brizzy. Well, actually, I started with trying themes and that wasn't working. So then I tried Brizzy, which was a page builder, and I don't think they exist anymore. And it was a very glitchy page builder, so I'm not sad about that. So then I just looked for another page builder to try, and I started with the Elementor free version. So I specifically wanted the free version, wasn't looking to pay for anything. Built a site with the free version, ended up doing copy paste a bunch, and realized that with Elementor Pro, I could use templates and avoid all the copying pasting. So just about a year ago, I started using Elementor Pro. So I am still learning a lot, and I haven't tested out other page builders, but I do love Elementor and I plan to stick with it. So I'm going to start sharing my screen to show you, I'm going to show you how I built something really cool on my personal website. One cool thing about Elementor, which our co-organizers actually pointed out to me, is that Elementor has pop-ups. Elementor Pro has pop-ups that are built into the plugin, the page builder, the theme. And I use pop-ups all the time. It's just a great thing to do. So I'm going to show you how to make a pop-up, and that'll show you how indirectly how to use Elementor. It's very similar to Divi, but it's not. So you'll see. So this is what you're seeing right now is my personal website. And in this case study right here for ArtsRaiser, I have a section for a wire flow. A wire flow is a huge diagram that I built in Miro, which is another software. So the wire flow is section user flow, section 2.3. So a user flow is just how users flow through an app. You start at a home page, and let's say you want to add a detail to your account. So what do you click on? What screen do you see? What actions do you take? That's a user flow. So when writing about how I built this app, I wanted to talk about the user flow, but this giant diagram is not the best thing to view even on desktop, because like even if I uploaded a high definition PNG or something, you'd still have to zoom in to read the text. So Miro, the software that I built the user flow in, has an embed feature. So I figured I'd take advantage of it. So when you click on the user flow, it pops up. You can see the board through Miro and zoom in and out at your leisure. So there you go. Now you can actually read what's being said, and you don't have to leave my site. There's a little close button there. I might make that button a little bigger. But yeah, I think this feature is very powerful. Pop-ups are great for mailing lists, for ads, unfortunately, but also something like this where you don't want someone to leave your site and you want to zoom in. All right, so how did I build this? And that I will take you to the Elementor backend. So first, in the WordPress header toolbar, you can see that you can just edit with Elementor right here. So if I press this button, I can edit the page directly. The Elementor edit view is a little bit different from Divi. Honestly, to be honest, I think I do like the Divi view better. You'll see when this loads. All right. So just to explain what you're looking at, I have two headers going on. One's for mobile, one's for desktop. So that's why you see those things stacked up on top. But this is what the Elementor view looks like. There's a sidebar panel with all of these things that you can add, and you can change the panel, the size of the panel if it's a little too big, and you just drag something and drop it. Let's say I wanted a button there, which I don't. So yeah, the reason I just mentioned Divi is because one thing that I do like about Divi is that it doesn't have the sidebar, and which the sidebar takes up space. As a designer, user experience designer, it's all about the visuals for me. So I like how with Divi, you can hover over an element, click on the element, and then all of the stuff pops up in the same way a sidebar would. But anyway, let me get to the pop-up. All right, so this is the page where the pop-up is. I have to add an image. So what I did was I added an image of the user flow and then turned the image into a button so that when you click on the image, it pops up, and what you saw before, you can zoom into. So I added an image. This is an image element. I added a link to an image. Instead of putting the URL to this link, you do custom URL, you choose a pop-up. The action opens the pop-up, and then you choose the pop-up here. I only have it, it's already selected, so I don't need to do that. And that's how you add a pop-up into the page. The second step is to create the pop-up. I have to change the size of my desktop just because it's covering all the tabs. All right, so how do you create a pop-up? This is what I'm sure we're all familiar seeing, the normal WordPress dashboard. If you go to Elementor templates on the left side and go to pop-ups, you can just easily create a pop-up right here. You can see I'm even working on a mobile menu. A pop-up works well as a mobile menu. If you have a hamburger icon, let's say at the top or in the corner on your phone screen, you click on the button and the pop-up can slide down. It can slide from the left. That's what I'm working on here. And that's how easy it is to create a pop-up. So let's edit this pop-up with Elementor just so I can show you how I built it. Yep, so this is the pop-up that you're seeing. You'd have to click on see the board to actually see the board, but I'm just going to talk about how it's set up. Yeah, pop-ups can do everything. You can cover the entire screen. I used pop-ups to create like a coming soon banner to hide everything behind it. Although there's probably a lot better ways to create a coming soon banner. You can have an overlay or a close button. The overlay is this this kind of transparent black color that you see on top of the screen. Entrance animation, you can have it go slower or faster. What else is interesting to show? I think I also forgot to show you how I put the embed link into the, yeah, so that's what I need to show you. All right, let's go back. All right, so these are the pop-up settings. I am interested in not the pop-up, but the element inside the pop-up. A little bit like how Mickey was showing with Divi, when you hover over, you see these different different lines that show you where you are. So when you hover over this is a section. So I can edit the section that contains the element. If I hover over here, actually, I can see the column. There's always one column within a section. And then if I look over here, there's this blue square, that's the elements, to edit the element. So you can see the element that I'm putting inside the pop-up is just an HTML element. And then this, the code that I retrieved from Miro. So that's how that works. Pop-ups are really fun and I love building them. Let's go back so you can just see.
1 to 2 more minutes left.
Great. Actually, let's. Oh, I already had that open. Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna go. I didn't change anything, so I'm not gonna save anything. Just to go back to what I was showing you, just to illustrate it before again. Sorry, these the Zoom stuff's getting in my way. So yeah, insert a photo, turn the photo into a button, create a pop-up, add an HTML inside the pop-up. And you can see the board here, or you can click outside. You can click on the overlay to close the pop-up. So that's one of the cool things about Elementor. Other things I want to show you are some resources that I like to use. Probably the biggest resource is just elementor.com because they can connect you to so many other things. But Elementor also has a Meetup community. I've been to a couple Elementor meetups and they are very helpful. A bunch of people working on the same stuff with the same problems. So if you like coming to WordPress meetups, you can go to Elementor meetups as well. I am also in the Elementor Facebook group, which is very useful. They just made 100,000 members, 100,000.6 members all around the world. And you just ask questions, post your site, do whatever. It's just such a great resource. A third resource I love to use is I'm a big fan of this YouTube channel called Living with Pixels. This guy, I think he's in like Denmark or something, but he's a solo freelancer, building sites with Elementor, $1,000, like $10,000 sites, all with Elementor. And his sites are beautiful, and he explains his process very, very well. He explains how he prices his sites. He explains how his sites compare to other block builders and places like Wix and Squarespace. So I'm a big fan of his as well. Not too much personal branding either. He's not just trying to sell himself. He really is trying to be like an educator. So I'd recommend that source as well. And he has his own website too. He has this great thing where you can send him a website and ask for his feedback on it. So that's pretty cool. That's about it for my.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thanks, Wynn.
Thank you.
That was a very cool demo. I love seeing the pop-up.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. So next person to demo 5 to 10 minutes is Cameron Barrett, and he is going to present Beaver Builder. So take it away, Cam.
Hey, everybody. You guys can see my screen, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. So I'm going to be swapping between browsers, but I'll just do that quickly. So I want to talk first about why page builders came to exist. And I think the biggest reason is because the default text editor in WordPress was very limiting. It's like you could do a photo and you could align text and you can style some text, and that's about it. Like if you wanted any custom code, you're kind of screwed, because you had to really get into the HTML part of the page, and it just I need to actually back out of that page because I made a change to it. And so what happened is people started building these page builders on top of the WordPress ecosystem, and it allowed you to do a lot more stuff. And so if we started going into what page builders can offer, I like Beaver Builder a lot because what you can do is it provides you all of these awesome really tools, all of these modules that I've installed, and basically all of these modules here correlate. These content modules correlate to these things here. Now, we'll be sending out some resources after the meetup, but this ultimate add-on for Beaver Builder and these Power Pack add-ons, and these are really cool because what these are like prepackaged design patterns that people have built, that are, basically you can do everything you see here in these modules. You can do with a WYSIWYG drag and drop interface. Everything you see is really cool. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. And the one that I liked the most, and I'll show you the problem I solved, was when you're on a website, or I'm sorry, what happened is I run district, the websites for Newark Public Schools, and everything went virtual, right? All the classrooms went virtual. And so they came to me and said, look, we need to list all of our classrooms, all of our virtual classrooms, all of our Google classrooms, all of our Bitmoji classrooms. We need to put them on our school's website homepage. And I said, well, where are we going to put that? Because it looks like I messed up that page. I'm gonna have to go recover it in a little bit. Oh, there it is. And I said, well, what you can do is you can, I can do it off canvas. I can do an off canvas setting. So basically all the virtual classrooms are right here, available directly from the homepage, just like that. And these are maintained by webmasters for each school. And that's a Beaver Builder module. So if I go into the Beaver Builder page and I take a look at the interface, wait for it to load. I can search for off canvas. It's right there. I have two sets. I have Power Pack installed. I have the off canvas, the other set installed. I can use either one of those. And you basically, it's as easy as dragging and dropping it in. And you configure it. You have all of your settings here. And you're going to want to walk through a lot of tutorials to understand what a lot of this is. Discard by changes. And I want to talk to, but the biggest key is like all of these modules are available. So everything you see here can be done on another school's homepage. Here's the parallax scroll in the middle there. We have Twitter embeds, we have Facebook embeds, we have Instagram embeds. We can do a content query. So right here, if we click on this right here, this module, everything's point and click. If we click on this module, you can see my query. It's a custom query. I'm querying posts. I'm querying posts that are in the news category only. And I'm saying, 3 posts, and then my controls, and then your layout. Here, I want to show the title, meta content, and the call to action. And the image position should be left. And all of that correlates directly to what you see here. Okay. And the cool thing about having a multi-site, because I work primarily in multi-site for school districts, is that I have a plugin called Broadcast installed that allows me to push content from the district site to the subsites. And that will show up here. So I can push content directly from the district site to these subsites. It's pretty cool. But as far as Beaver Builder goes, the biggest problem was people, our editors at the sites wanted visual control. They didn't want to have to go into the back end and like learn how to code. They wanted to be able to do something really cool. And so here, if I go into the school header, I can see that I have in the background, I have this option called infinite background. And that's basically because it's the Rafael Hernandez sharks. I have a shark fin just running across the top of the header in the background. And I have it repeating in the footer, going to the other direction. And the principal of the school really loved that because it really kind of allowed him to brand the website to his school, which was kind of cool. And if I go look at some other websites, we have some stars. So if I go into the header, I can also look at the same settings. I can go in here and I have all of these options. This is called animated background power pack. And the effect is turned off, particle background is turned off. And I can set all, I can basically set all of those to the NASA, which is the stars. And all of these are available if you look here. Let's see, I think it might have been this particular setting. They're called row backgrounds, and it allows you to set those. Where's that at? Row backgrounds. It's somewhere in here. Row separator, no. It's in there anywhere. It's called animated backgrounds. It allows you to really do a lot of cool stuff. Like, what was that tiger? That's cool. It's a video background. So it's basically, it's drag and drop WYSIWYG. You can find the module that you want to replicate from these module sets, find it inside your Beaver Builder module library, drag it in, configure it, and you're done. You don't have to mess around with code. You don't have to mess around with learning how to program. Everything's built right in. The one other thing I like the most about Beaver Builder templating is, let's say I have a district site and I have all this content in the district footer down here that I don't want the schools to be able to touch. Basically, what I can do is if I look at, go back to the home page. And then I go into the school footer, which is a Beaver Builder themer layout. And I go and I look at what that is. That's basically a short code. It's a Beaver Builder short code that's calling the content ID for site ID 1, which is the district site. So I can edit all of this content at the district level, and all of the school footers pull that in automatically. So I don't have to do it at 70 times. I do it once, and it's called across the multi-site. It's calling the database for the district site, not the database for the sub-sites, which is pretty cool. I also standardized on some footers here for the school footer, the map. You'll see this, all the sites I built have this kind of design pattern now. I built it out. This is a table structure. This is an image. This is, I think these are called icon sets. All of these things are replicable. This again across the top is another theme layout, which I control at site ID 1 level, at the district level. And this kind of maps across multi-site. So if you're building multi-site for a school district, or like a franchise, a company with franchises, or anything where you have a parent-child site relationship, this stuff is really powerful. And the last reason I really, really like Beaver Builder is because it works with WPML. So WPML is a language translation management solution that lives inside WordPress. I don't have it fully active yet, but I'm implementing this now. But I'm just showing you the write-up. Basically, what that means is like you can manage your natively translated content directly from within WordPress backend, and also directly from within the Beaver Builder interface. So if I have translated content in 4 languages, I'm going to have 4 columns here, or you'll see these arrows that scroll through the different content. I'm actually implementing this now for Newark so that we have natively translated content for about 1,500 pages. About
1 to 2 minutes, Cam.
Yep. So about 1,500 pages, about 2,000 or 3,000 PDFs. And so I'm working with a bunch of different translation companies to integrate all of this stuff as well into WordPress. Beaver Builder, as far as I know, is the only page builder that supports WPML. I'm not sure if the other ones do. But this is one of the reasons I chose Beaver Builders, because of the translation. Sorry. It's a really powerful solution with the WYSIWYG interface that people like. It's really fantastic. I haven't been able to find the same level of implementation in Gutenberg or any of the other page builders, and so I keep going with Beaver Builder because it solves all of my problems. I could keep going, but my voice just went, as you can hear. So I'm gonna break now, and I'll be happy to answer any questions in the Q&A.
Great, thank you, Cameron. Next up, the last presenter for demoing is Laura Byrne, and she's going to demo the block editor. So take it away, 10 minutes.
Great. Yeah, you got it. I ended up pre-recording mine, so I'm going to just share my recording. Give me just 1 second to get this rolling, and yeah, it should be about 10 minutes.
Perfect. Oh, I see it is about 10 minutes. Good. It is on mute, so like I think you have to do something to present.
On?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second and I'll stop that. Let me restart it. Give me 1 sec.
Sure.
It helps if you share original sound. Give me 1 second and I'll try that again. Share sound, optimize clip for video. Let's try this again one more time with feeling, and let's see what happens now. Come on. I just wanted to give you a quick walkthrough of what you can do with the Gutenberg editor, also known as the block editor. So I'm going to use as an example a website that's right here from Montclair called Studio Players. And this site, all of it, every single aspect of it is built using the Gutenberg block editor. There is not a single widget anywhere on this website other than the interior sidebars, which I can just show you that very, very quickly. Just a couple little things here in our sidebars that are not built in Gutenberg, but every other single thing in this website is built using both the native Gutenberg blocks found in any standard WordPress install. There's also a couple of blocks that come from a third-party block called Stackable. And there are also one or two from Advanced Gutenberg, which was just recently renamed, and I'll figure out what the title of that is by the time we get into the live chat tonight. But let's just give you a really quick walkthrough. One of the things that's great about the block editor is you can do a highlight, copy, paste from Word, Google Doc to create your content. So I have some content here. I'm just going to do a Control A, a Control C, and then a Control V, and voila, my content comes in. I have to make a minor adjustment, just move my H1 up, pop it in there for my title. And literally, it has maintained my formatting. This was in my doc as an H2. It came in as an H2. This was in my doc as an H3. It's right there. I have a numbered list. Came in with the inline links in, both to an offsite item, to an email address, maintained my bold, maintained my spacing. To give you an idea on how easy it is to put in other content, every single item comes up in a block, as the name block editor might imply. And if you click on a block, you get a little menu item right up above that shows you the most popular things you might want to do with this type of item. In this case, it's an H2. So, you know, centering, bold, italic, adding a link. You know, these are the kind of things I would do here. Same in a paragraph text. If I want to put in pictures, obviously I would get some more choices. But like I said, in any given block, no matter what, if you click on that block, you get a little menu bar right up above with the most common choices. But if there's some other things you want to do, you just need to go over here and explore in the right sidebar, and you get some other options. So for example, here I am in a very text-driven block in H3. You can see I have some choices on font size. I have some more choices on color. You can preset a color palette, but you can go outside it if you need to. And if I really wanted to get into it, I can do some things with anchor links, some CSS. You know, you can tweak things a little more if you want. But as I said, as a generality, the most common things you're going to do are right there when you just click above a block that your content is in. It's a rare occasion that I really have to go to that right column. And to show you how easy it is to change things around once you're here. So let me just click into my bullet pointed list here. You can see it comes out as a numbered list. Well, maybe I want it to be an unnumbered list. It's as quick as clicking a button. You have lots of other options. It pretty much, I tell my clients, it operates like Microsoft Word. If you can do Microsoft Word, you can do this. Highlighted this. Oh, maybe I need to indent it. There you go. Or I could unindent it. Again, the most common things you need are right there. Let's show you how to make some pictures, bring pictures in. To add extra content, what you're going to look for are the plus buttons, and they're in a couple of different places. Top left-hand corner is a plus button, or you could just come down to your most recent content that you put in, hit a return, and you will get a plus button. I'm going to throw in some photos. So when you hit the plus button, box pops up. That gives you a couple of options. You can either hit browse all, and you will get a list over to the left side of a smorgasbord of all the different kinds of blocks that are available. It will also list the 6 most recent kind of blocks that you used here, just for convenience, or you can search for it if you happen to know the name. I happen to know that I want an image block. You can see as I start typing, it comes up right away. I'm going to hit image, and it literally tells you what to do. Upload a file or pick one from the media gallery. I'm going to go for upload, grab it right off my desktop, insert it. And this has to do with the instructions I had up above. Well, how do I get that image up above? Well, what's really nice is you get these little arrows, and I can just get this image as high up as I need it. So I have my image about Google Calendar way up the top, but maybe it's not quite what I want. What do I have to do next? Well, maybe I want to wrap my text. Let's try aligning left. Maybe that's what I needed to do. Maybe it's still not quite in the right place. Again, my arrows, I can tap it down. There you go. And this is a very WYSIWYG experience. What you see is what you get. If I go and preview this, you will see that this is keeping up very much what I saw on the back end is what I was seeing here. I'd have to do some, cleanup here to just make that work, but very much what you see is what you get. And there were all kinds of blocks for all kinds of things made super, super easy. Piece of cake to throw in video. I'm just grabbing the URL of a YouTube video. If I wanted to put in a video here, again, hit a plus, start searching for a block. Of course, it helps if I spell YouTube the right way. Right there, put in the URL, embed, boom. Couldn't be easier. Could do it with all other kinds of content. Twitter, for example. Let's say you want to embed a tweet. You can absolutely do this with embedding a tweet if you would like. You just have to grab the URL of that tweet, copy, paste, embed, and there you go. You're right in there. Sometimes it takes it a second to render, as you can see. And I can, again, play around with it. I could center it. I could do, all kinds of things, whatever I want to do. Again, clicking on top of it, get some additional options of things I could do, centering, etc. They let you write captions. You can link to captions, bold, underline, so many things, and so easy just to move this content around wherever you may need it to go. 1, 2, 3, you are there. Just to give you the last highlight of things that I really like about the block editor. One of the things that's super important to me is saving time, as I'm sure it's really important to all of you. And it comes down to, there's some boilerplate that I just don't want to have to keep writing and writing and writing. And then when it changes, have to track it down in all the places it is across the website. So for example, right here, ticket prices, ticket call to action. I've got 2 buttons: buy tickets to a specific show, buy a subscription for 3 to 4 shows and save. These call to action buttons are in numerous places across the website. So if the links to this change, I don't want to have to go and track this down across, 20 pages of this website. But one of the things that the block editor lets you do is they let you save some boilerplate items into what they call reusable blocks. So I'm just going to click here, show you how it works really quickly. Sorry, give it a second for it to come up. Oops, there we go. You can see I have, actually, you know what? Let me go down to the bottom. There's another one, maybe down bottom here, that might be a little easier for us to do. Because I don't know if I saved this. Let's see. I didn't save it. You know what? I'll show you how to make it a reusable block. I thought I saved this from earlier. So I have these buttons here that, I want to save them. I want to make them a reusable block. I just have to make sure I've selected all of them, which I just have by just a highlight click. That's all I did. Hit my ... add to reusable box. Call to action, sales, buttons, save. I can now put these anywhere. For example, I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to hit reusable. Yep, there you can see lots of it. Call to action, save buttons. Put them in there. Boom. Boilerplate item comes right up. Have a couple other ones that I have in here. And what's great about these reusable blocks is once you put them in, they are available to any user of their site. They're not restricted to just you, the person who created them. Here we go. We got a group rate, popping that in. Again, some boilerplate that happens across our site. And what's great, let's say I find a typo, maybe a price changes. All I have to do is hit edit, and I could correct whatever that typo might have been. Hit save, and it will save that across any iteration of that block across the website. So I don't have to go tracking down boilerplate around 20, 30 pages. I know it will change all the way across. And I also have the ability to break these out. If this is just a one-off change, I can do that. I can use this as a template for other things. It's so versatile, so usable. I've been using WordPress since 2006, and I actively get upset if I have to do content on a page that is not using the block editor. I love it so much. So hopefully that gives you all an overview, And I'm excited to talk with you and answer questions about it later on tonight. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura, for that little presentation. So, excuse me. So now that we've seen all of everybody's demos, I'm going to start with, I'll start with Mickey again. Basically, from what you know of Divi and what you've used it, what would you say it's like, if you had to pick one, what would you say its strongest feature is, and what would you say is its weakest feature from what your usage of? And I'm going to ask every single person this question on this panel.
I think Divi's strongest feature is really its flexibility and pretty much the ability to almost do anything that you want. In addition, it's very extensible. So they're just as with the other builders and Gutenberg, there are plenty of plugins, there are plenty of extra modules. There's lots of ways to extend Divi beyond what what the base product uses. On the other side of the coin, I think one complaint about Divi, and probably the other page builders as well, except for Gutenberg, is that Divi uses a lot of shortcodes. And to try to move a site from Divi to to the block editor, to Elementor, to Beaver Builder is pretty much going to be a rebuild because you take Divi out of the picture. Yeah, I mean, there'll be content there, but there'll be tons of shortcodes there. And but one thing that's good, talking a little bit about the future is, Divi recognizes that. It sees where we're going. It sees where full site editing is going, and they're working to basically get out of shortcodes and, implement it in a different way, which is an important thing. It'll be real important this year, I think.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Win, same question. What would you say is the strongest or your favorite feature of Elementor, and where would you say maybe it has a shortcoming or where it might be frustrating to use that page builder?
I think just the endless possibilities of how to build a theme, all the different ways to build a theme. Some sites I have like 3 different headers going on just because they work well. So you can't convince me to go back to downloading a theme. I can never go back to that world. I'm a page builder. I'm sold on page builders. The only competition is the full site editing that's coming. I think, and then the community support is huge. As far as downsides, I do think it's a bit glitchy. Not nearly as glitchy as Brizzy. When I tried that, I really don't think that company exists anymore. But yeah, like for example, in Elementor, you can create global fonts and global colors. So if your logo is if your brand color is a certain shade of green, you can set that green in the style guide. And then let's say you want to change it to blue, you can just change that color in the style guide and it'll change globally. So that's great. But sometimes switching between page view and the style guide and maybe a pop-up and the headers, it just gets a little glitchy. Like sometimes I'll change something in the style guide, go back to the page, and I don't see the change. So I need to figure out what happened. Sometimes will just back up my site because I can't figure out what happened. But that's very infrequent. That's very infrequent. It's not nearly as glitchy as some other page filters out there.
Great, thank you. Cameron, for you,
Yeah.
what would you say is your favorite feature of using Beaver Builder, and where might there be like a frustration in using Beaver Builder?
Yeah, so Beaver Builder is great because there's hundreds and hundreds of modules and add-ons available that really work right out of the box. Like if you find something that you like, a flip box or a modal or a off-canvas slide out, something that really solves your design need, solves your information design problem, it's available. You find the module, you drag it in, to the interface. You configure it, you set your colors, you set your fonts, you set your padding, your margins, throw in your content, and you're done. And it's all point and click. It's all configurable. It also supports, like Elementor and the other page builders, it supports responsive sizing. So you can configure your padding and margins for mobile and tablet because they are different. Like you don't really want big wide margins and padding on mobile. It's not point. There's no point in it. But I also like Beaver Builder a lot because it's really, really good for multi-site. And again, I'm a bit of an anomaly here because most people don't work in multi-site, but that's almost all I do is multi-site. So it's great that I can use Beaver Builder across sites and subsites, and I can create modules and import and export them across sites, and then use shortcodes to call content from different sites, and they have a completely different database, but are in the same multi-site install. As far as I know, Gutenberg has nothing like that. As far as I know, Elementor and these other page builders have absolutely nothing even coming close to solving those technological design needs. What I don't like about Beaver Builder is there's some page bloat for sure. The HTML and CSS is quite heavy. And so if you're going to be doing a pretty extensive Beaver Builder site, you really need a powerful web server. So you're going to pay a little more you're going to need to pay more for your hosting because you need more power, more CPU power. And you're going to be down, and your pages are going to be 20 or 30% bigger than a standard optimized page. There are some ways to counter that. More powerful web server, put all your assets on the CDN, make sure you're optimizing and caching properly. There's a lot of things you can do to offset that negative. But from my perspective, Beaver Builder solves all of my needs. None of the other page builders even come close. WP Bakery is a joke. I haven't used it in quite a few years, but it gets creakier.
Let's not speak ill of other page builders. There might be.
It gets creakier and creakier the more I look at it. I have used Divi. I have used Elementor. They're both pretty good, but neither one of them solves my particular needs. And my needs are specialized. But I do like the fact it's WYSIWYG. I can train editors to edit content and not have to worry about code. They don't have to worry about breaking something because every module is kind of self-contained. It's been tested. Every one of these page builder add-on companies has a great Facebook group that I belong to. So I jump in there and I report bugs. Other people report bugs or solve problems. The WordPress forums are sometimes useful. But it's finding the right community. There is an online community of support for each of these things. You just have to find the right one and join it. So
cool.
Yeah, Beaver Builder.
Yeah, make sure you include those in the resources so we can share those.
Yeah, and again, Gutenberg is getting better, and I know Laura is going to talk about it, but I can't do full site editing in Gutenberg for my requirements. It doesn't. I can't do it. I've tried. I can't do it. The rules aren't mature enough yet.
Cool. Laura, same question. What are your favorite features of Gutenberg that stand out to you? And also, what are some of the frustrations you still have with Gutenberg?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the biggest things that you just can't dismiss is the fact is that it is so WYSIWYG friendly. It is absolutely what you see is what you get. The fact that I was able to take, in my case, a Word doc, it could have been a Google Doc. I could have formatted that ahead of time, spell checked it, run it past other editors, what have you. Highlight, copy, paste, boom, it was in there, word perfect, maintaining the formatting. There's no bloat. Used to be back in the day, you highlight, copy, paste out a word, and oh, you had a world full of hurt coming your way. Yeah, so you don't have that. Users, whether they're old-time people or newbies, they really just love the editor. It's so simple because, like I said, what you see is what you get. And I think for me personally, what I demoed at the end, the reusable block, is such a game changer. To be able to create boilerplate like that, I only did that with one block. I could have ganged together like 6 or 7 blocks. You can make them a template to do different aspects of your website. We're building a very complex website now, and a lot of it is templated. Using reusable blocks, it helps you maintain a lot of that formatting, a lot of that stylization. People are able to go in and do what they need. As far as things that are glitchy, yep, for sure. There are a couple of things. Hello, button block. I've reported you a couple of times. Yeah, that button block could be a whole lot more friendly if it wanted to be. I actually reported that to their team with a video on what they could do to make this less confusing. And there are a couple of other blocks that the other one that I think it's kind of hilarious is their gallery block. The innate one doesn't have a lightbox feature. I'm not really clear what makes that a gallery. I could, just because I call something a hamburger and it looks like an apple doesn't mean it's a hamburger.
It's just like the gallery shortcode.
Yeah, I'm like, that doesn't work. So, I mean, there are a couple workarounds on things. There are definitely some features that I go to third-party blocks for. I'll throw a lot of them in the resources. So the innate Gutenberg install has a lot of what you need. It doesn't always has everything. So, for example, sometimes I have to go to third-party blocks to get a lightbox gallery effect, to get an accordion, to get a more versatile posts block that will let me do filtering on a much higher level than the innate Gutenberg blocks do. But I just feel like for somebody who knows like next to no CSS and that's just enough HTML to be dangerous, this lets me do everything that I need to do. And I have used a variety of the other page builders when I have the skid marks on my backside from that previous builder you mentioned. Hashtag had to call my boss and say, I just destroyed a site. Can we roll back to last night's backup? Yeah, been there, done that, have the t-shirt. So yeah, I mean, and each thing has its own, I would say this, every one of the page builders has fans, and the right one for you is the one that works for you. People's brains all work differently. And people have different needs, different prioritizations, and kind of putt around, figure out what works best for you. That's why there's a variety.
Awesome. I think that's absolutely true, that each page builder is right for somebody. It might not be right for everybody, and I think that's the important thing to learn from this. So basically, when all of you all saw the demos, if something seemed pretty comfortable to you visually and a workflow worked for you, that might be the page builder, and you might want to reach out to one of these fine folks here, and if you need to ask a couple extra questions, they will, I'm sure, be happy to help you. The next question I'm going to ask the same question to three of you and a different question to one of you, and you can only imagine what that question might be about. So I'm going to start with Mickey again, because I'm just going to keep going on this order because it seems to work for me. Mickey, in the world of the block editor, where do you see the future of Divi, and what changes might you see there, and how are they embracing the block editor?
That's a really good question. I know the folks at Elegant Themes are thinking about this and working on it. Just as a real quick tangent to add to something that Wynn said is there are also Divi meetups, and I happen to be the co-organizer of the New York City Divi meetup as well. So yeah, there's a lot of co-organizing going on. But and so I do sometimes hear things that general Divi users may not hear. But one thing that's interesting, in the past, it must have been in 2020 or maybe late 2019, Divi actually came out with the ability to basically put a Divi module inside a Gutenberg block. So it was a little bit the best of both worlds, for doing that. Talk about glitchy. It's a little glitchy, and it's probably a little heavy in terms of because Gutenberg is so light. But that's one thing they're doing. But like I said, they're going away from short codes. I think they're trying to look at being more block based. I don't know how they're doing it. Since 2019, they've been refactoring all of their code into React, to give it some better flexibility. And one thing about Elegant Themes is they're constantly rolling out new capabilities, new features, things like that, which has to do with their refactoring of code and making it a lot easier. And there's a new major version. Divi's on 4.9 something now. There's a 5.x coming out sometime later this year that should should, move it closer to where it needs to be, take away some of the bloat, take away some of the short codes, and so on. Yeah. So I think, I mean, all of these page builders, if they're not thinking about what they're going to do when full site editing becomes, more mainstream, then, they better start.
Cool. Thanks, Mickey.
Sure.
Win, same question to you. Where do you see Elementor going now that the block editor is kind of, matured quite a bit since it first being introduced in 5.0, and basically full site editing probably coming within the next year, I would say. Like where is Elementor going to be in that kind of shuffle when that starts happening? Or where do you see it happening? Or where do you see it being, rather?
I can't say, but I do have some interesting ideas. So I've done some.
Sure, yeah, that's what we want to hear. We're pontificating now. We're imagining where these things might be.
I read a couple blog posts about how Elementor, as a page builder, competes with places like Squarespace and Wix, and I don't really think of those being in the same world because they're not WordPress. So with the full site editing coming with WordPress to kind of make that editing experience seem more like a page builder, I'm wondering if it may be a good idea for Elementor to become more like a Squarespace, if that makes sense. I know nothing about backend development. I just started learning JavaScript, so that's where I'm at. But like, I don't know how they can change that.
JavaScript's a big step.
I don't know how they can change, they can add CMS to the page building and become like a Squarespace. But I think the interface of Elementor, maybe it could compete with
the Squarespace. So you could pick like WordPress with Elementor or Squarespace, and those two would compete
or like an Elementor standalone.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so that could be an idea. I don't know if that is coming, but as a kind of as a freelancer that just builds Elementor sites for clients, I'm gonna stay with Elementor for next year, the foreseeable future. And as I learn, front-end development, I'm gonna try and be fluent in both the page full site editing and Elementor, just because I could be, because that just seems like the most makes the most sense.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good.
Hey, Mike, just to piggyback on what Win said about Elementor, I've also heard, and the word is sort of out, that Elementor is looking to move out of WordPress into its own sort of standalone development environment. Now that came from folks in Divi, so who knows?
They're spreading rumors.
Yeah, right. It may be one of those things, but yeah, I think they would know. They talk to each other. They're competitors, but they don't hate each other. So
if that's true, that's a pretty interesting claim to be making about your competitor. And they're not even gonna be on WordPress anymore. So
Elementor also just is in the midst of changing its licensing plans for their higher end plans, and they really increased the price, again, not as a dig, but just to say that may be somewhere they're going, for very, very large, like agencies that do 1,000 sites or something like that.
Cool. Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks. Cameron, same question for you. Where do you see Beaver Builder as Gutenberg is maturing, full site editing is on the horizon? Where do you see Beaver Builder in the not so distant future, and how do you see it evolving?
Yeah, so I mean that's really the problem right there, is full site editing is on the horizon. It's not here yet. It's a business decision for me. Like, I can't go and build a Gutenberg site for my school clients and say, here you go, because it's not available. It's all the tools that they need are not available yet in Gutenberg. I see them coming for sure. They're definitely coming, but they're not here today. And so I can't go to a school district and say, oh, you have to wait a year. No, I'm going to give them the tools that.
Well, the question is more about how do you see it as it's being developed, not that we know it's happening. So yeah.
So Beaver Builder, I know that the module companies, WP Beaver add-ons and Ultimate Brainstorm Force is who creates the other set. I know that they are actively porting their design modules to Gutenberg as blocks. That's been happening for about a year and a half. Those add-on sets will be available for Gutenberg eventually. I know that's going to happen. And when that happens, I can then go and say, can I rebuild these sites in Gutenberg and provide all the same functionality? Certainly. Okay, if full site editing is there, if shared templates are there across multi-site, if of course we have the reusable blocks in Beaver Builder, they call them saved rows and saved modules, same concept. If all of the same functionality is there, then yes, I can switch a site to Gutenberg by rebuilding it. There's no porting. Porting, it's almost impossible. It's the way the content's stored, you're literally gonna have to rebuild from scratch. But that you have to do that every few years anyway. You know, the lifespan of a site is around 5 years. That's what people say, you know, the industry standard is you have to redevelop every 5 years. So if I'm building a site today, then I know that in 3 to 5 years, I'm gonna have to redevelop. And when I redevelop, it's gonna be on Gutenberg. Because I don't see Beaver Builder being around. Considering Gutenberg is going to fill those shoes, I don't see Beaver Builder as a page builder being around, but I do see the modules that are being built for the page builders being ported as premium add-ons for Gutenberg. And when all of that stuff is mature enough that I can use it on production level sites and my end users aren't super confused, because you know, it's once all those problems are solved, then I can consider the Gutenberg way. But I still think we're at least 12 months away from that, at least.
Three very interesting perspectives. One where they either build Beaver Builder competing with Squarespace. One where we see that that their page builder will embrace Gutenberg and Mickey. Now my brain is being hot wired. Yeah. But yeah, three very interesting perspectives of how they see their page builders evolving with Gutenberg. Now, with Gutenberg, we already know that full site editing is right on the horizon, Laura. But what other, and you've used Gutenberg and you've also used various page builders.
Page builders. I've used
Yeah.
actually every single one that ever. Actually, the only one I have, the only one I haven't used is the one that Cameron's using. I've seen it demoed, but I've never actually personally touched Beaver Builder. But I've done Divi and Elementor and Brizzy and WP Bakery. Yeah.
Cool. So the question I have for you is, knowing where Gutenberg is now, and also we'll say full site editing is down the line, coming soon.
Coming soon to a school.
Coming soon, and you've seen how that's going to function and stuff. What else what features are you jealous of that are in particular page builders that you want to see some Gutenberg version of?
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's header, footer, sidebar. You know, right now I'm relying on widgets or getting into the customizer, and it's just clunky as hell sometimes, depending on what you're doing. I mean, I was fighting today just to get our accessibility. We have an accessibility page we put up for different websites, and then in the footer we do have a little accessibility link. How are we doing? You would think putting a link in the footer would be easier than it is. So little things like that. I think that's really what it's coming down to. And I think it speaks to some of the concerns that Cam's talking about too, about, how do you maintain your quality control across those kind of, key branding areas. So yeah, I'm excited for it. One of the things I should tell people is there is the, Gutenberg. I mean, Gutenberg will come with a native WordPress install, but there's also a Gutenberg plugin, which is beta. It is giving you the experimental, and I'm just going to stress that again, experimental.
Do not use it on production, that means.
Yes. Or when one forgets and one doesn't understand why one's sidebar has suddenly disappeared, you then need to remember that you didn't turn that off. Not that I did that recently. So yeah, but like I can see like where things are going, and I'm like, yay, that's going to be great, but it's not, as Kim said, it's not there yet. So, but I think that's really the big game changers is what can I do with my headers? What can I do with my sidebars? What can I do with my footers? And right now I'm relying basically on widgets to do that, or if I've inherited something from somebody else, sometimes it's hard coded and that brings its own set of joy when I have to deal with that. So yeah.
And one thing, Laura, one thing I haven't really researched yet or seen is how Gutenberg is going to be handling content in multiple languages, and whether or not there's going to be a WPML integration or a.
See, I haven't had the call for our clients to do anything like that. I mean, we've had a couple of sites. I just have to be careful of an NDA here, where there is content that they have in both English and Spanish and other languages, but they've chosen to deal with it by making a subdomain, and then just on the main page, it's like, what language do you want to get this in? And then we'd have a Google Translate kind of thing going. Anyway, I've seen that WPML plugin. It looks great. I know lots of people who use it. I just haven't had the use case to get into that. So I can't very well speak to how it will or will not work with Gutenberg. It just hasn't run across my plate yet.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for all those great questions. We have about a half hour left for the meetup, so I want to open it up to the Q&A for everybody that has been watching. We have 29 attendees, so I'm sure a lot of them have some questions. If you do have some questions, you can say like question for all, and I'll ask it generally and just let our panelists kind of go at it. If you have a question for a specific person or a specific page builder or Gutenberg, specify that as well. And, the person that represents that page builder or the block editor will take it on. So with that, I am going to start with a question from, where did that one go? It just kind of.
Oh, is that me? Did I just?
Laura answered
I
it.
just totally screwed that up, Mike. Sorry.
I got it. All right. It's all right. I got it.
You typed your answer, right?
Yeah, I thought it would maintain. I am so sorry. I did not know that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll
First
read
day
it
with the
off just so
software.
everybody can hear it and we can discuss it. It's in the recording. It's not a question for all. Okay, question for all. Have you worked with your respective page builder and WooCommerce themes, comments, traps? So I guess mostly, talk about, I would say like WooCommerce, your page builder with WooCommerce, if anybody has any experience with that.
I mean, we don't have a lot of stuff going on in WooCommerce, but what we've had going on, it has not been an issue. Like it's been pretty seamless. I mean, that said, I would say we have some very basic shops. I mean, we're talking tops 30 products. So these are not very elaborate stores, but it has not proven a problem with Gutenberg.
I haven't personally worked with WooCommerce and Divi, but I first of all know that there are specific Woo modules in Divi. Plus the third-party developers have developed some pretty amazing modules or plugins to even further integrate Divi and Woo. So it's not. There's no question that works together, really well, and a lot of people have built, shopping sites on Divi. There's quite a few out there.
Great. Wynn or Cameron, do you have anything?
I don't have any experience with WooCommerce, but I do know that in Elementor, on the side panel that I showed you in my demo, there's an entire section for WooCommerce elements, so I know it's supported.
Cool. Cam?
Yeah, and the same. There's the module building, the module add-on companies have WooCommerce modules that you can purchase separately. I haven't used them, but I know they exist. I imagine it works the same way anything else works in Beaver Builder.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. John asks a question. I have Divi. Is speed an issue?
That's a really good question, because one part of what I had in my slides talked about Divi and speed. And I'll take a little bit of time to go into some background. Around 2016, 2017, Divi came out, I think, with their version 3, and all of a sudden they became sort of the it thing in terms of page builders, just like, Beaver Builder has been, and WP Bakery, whatever its name was back then. And someone, I don't know who, I don't remember his name, but someone who was considered an influencer in the WordPress world put out a blog post basically saying Divi sucks, it's slow, it's bloated, so on and so forth. And then there was a big echo chamber, about that. So with all of that said, the answer is that, just like Cam said, if you want a well-performing site, no matter what you use, you want good performing hosting. And it's very easy with any of the page builders to, load plugins, load modules, load animations, and really, really kill your site. Is Divi bloated compared to native WordPress with the block editor? Yeah. And I think so are all the other page builders as well. But, one of the Facebook groups I belong to is a Divi and speed group. And, they post GT metrics, they post, other things to show comparisons. In fact, I have a slide comparing the Divi theme, and obviously Divi with Astra and Elementor, and how they compare. And they're pretty close together when you have to use themes and page builders together. So yes, there is a speed issue, but there are ways to optimize it. As Cam was saying, many different ways to do optimization.
I think it's important to note anytime you use a page builder, especially one that is as flexible as some of these page builders are, putting those tools in a non-coder's hand is going to add bloat to the page, because you're adding that level of flexibility, which adds that level of complexity,
Right.
and just adds all these different inline styles and divs, like multiple divs and stuff.
Why do you think they
just
call
in
it
order
Divi?
to- Yeah, in order to provide
right.
these
divs
things.
all over the
I mean,
place.
even aside from that, you can get yourself into a whole heap of trouble in just a classic editor, a Gutenberg editor, if you don't have something like Imagify or Insanity or any of those plugins that prevents you from uploading a 5 gig photo. How many of us have seen gotten a site and looked in that media gallery and you're like, my God, I could wrap a city bus with that graphic.
They're loading a gigabyte photo on that page.
I'm here to tell you, I found 5 gig the other day. I was amazed. I was like, that gasping and wheezing sound you hear is the hosting company. So.
Yeah, I do think the hosting definitely makes a huge difference. I've used Pressable hosting since I started making WordPress sites, and I've just heard amazing things about Pressable. And I think it's one of the reasons why my sites, I don't notice that they've never been slow. Recently, I started a new project where I took over a site. It's already built on Elementor, but hosted somewhere else, not on Pressable. There was a reason that they handed the site over to me, because it needed to be optimized. They had probably close to 100 extra plugins and things that weren't being used. But I cleaned up the plugins, cleaned up the images, cleaned up a bunch of other stuff, and still I noticed that the site wasn't extremely fast. And I'm wondering if it's the host.
That can definitely do it. You get what you pay for, sort of thing. So if you're on shared hosting, you're paying a couple bucks a month. You get a couple bucks a month good site, rather than something more than that. Next question, Brenda asks, I'll speak about the elephant in the room, core web vitals. Are the page builder users concerned with deception and achieving this newest ranking metric? I have abandoned all page builders and moved to Gutenberg, which is easy to tweak and meet core web vitals.
My answer is yes. I'm concerned. Only because, the core web vitals sort of change the game, and it's going to influence how Google's going to be ranking sites in terms of SEO. And I don't know how that's going to impact how people have to develop with page builders.
Yeah, I mean, Core Web Vitals is something that people are really, really working towards implementing on their sites. And there's a lot of discussion on it. There's a WordPress group called WordPress Speedup, which is very, very good about staying at the bleeding edge of like super fast website loading. And I've seen people loading, 3-4 megabyte home pages in like in milliseconds. And it's like, it's amazing what you can do if you have really, really fine-tuned hosting. I don't go that far with my stuff, but I do optimize as much as possible. I understand that, yeah, my pages are pretty big. My pages are very, very big. And I have an assumption that most people are on broadband. And if they are on mobile phone, I optimize as much as I can for the mobile view as well. But Core Web Vitals, yeah, you have to pay attention to it. It's becoming more and more important. I am concerned that the page builders are working against that. You're working against yourself with the page builders in achieving Core Web Vitals compliance. But yeah, it's a concern, and I'm keeping my eye on it.
Cool, thank you. Cameron, while you're speaking, the next question is directed at you. For Cameron, Beaver Builder, I've added an image to a page which encompasses almost the entire page. How do I rescale the image to match those on other pages? Also, I wish to include audio broadcasts of about 4 hours each. What is the most efficient way to do that?
So if you have a large image, is it a background image? Is it an image inside of a div? I mean, I don't know what kind of image you're loading, but if it's a background image, you can set your settings for the container, whether you want to do a content fill, or whether you want to do like a center position. All those controls are there. If it's just an image you've placed onto a page, well, use your standard scaling tools that are built right into WordPress or whatever the image module you're using inside Beaver Builder. There's numerous different types of image modules. Just look at your controls and figure out what you want to do. Applying it to the other pages, I don't really know what you're talking about. I really need to see what you're trying to do to answer that question. And as far as loading large audio files, I would put them on a third-party site. Go to SoundCloud, go to somewhere where you can host, big multi-megabyte files, because you don't want your web server hosting that stuff. Your web server is just going to complain, and it's because it has to do everything else as well.
Yeah. I would echo that, Cam. I think every single one of us on any builder we're using, no audio files, no video files on your site. Put them on a YouTube, a SoundCloud, a Vimeo. There are a million services, and I think every single one of our builders has a feature that will deal with that kind of file.
And I'm going to argue the same point. Like, I've been putting PDFs in the media library. I'm this close. I'm this close to saying, no more. PDFs are going on Google Drive, because I don't want to store 6,000 PDFs on the web server anymore. And I don't want them on CDN either. I want them some third party. I've actually been looking into Docify. No, what's the name of that? There's a PDF hosting company that's all they do is they host PDFs. It's a third party embed right into your WordPress site. I've been looking into that. Just because I don't want the web server to really handle that stuff. I want the web server to process HTML. I want it to process PHP. I want it to do MySQL queries. I don't want it to be thinking about large data files and how to serve them. That should all be handled third party, either through a CDN or third party service.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of times that those services are much more set up to serve those files than your web server is, and they'll do a better job at it. Next question, this is kind of more general, and it's we didn't have a representative for this page builder, but does anybody have any thoughts on Oxygen Builder?
I've never used it.
I actually, go ahead, Cam.
I've used it once or twice, and from what I've read, it's actually, of all the page builders, it puts out the cleanest code. So,
right.
I mean, that's what I've heard. I haven't really done my own tests, but I've heard that the Oxygen output is a lot lighter than the other page builders. But I just don't. I'm just going by hearsay of what I've heard. I have used it once or twice, but I'm by no means an expert. I don't have a strong opinion on it.
As a coder, I like the sound of clean code.
Like what Cam said, I did like a 90-day trial of Oxygen, again, because it's purported to be the cleanest code. What I had the problem with, probably coming from a page builder, is Cam, I don't know if you agree, but the paradigm for using Oxygen was like totally different from doing drag and drop, WYSIWYG, whatever, page or even theme development. It was just a whole another way of doing it you had to learn, and I just found it was too much effort to continue, and returned it before the 90 days, after trying it out.
I have a question, and this is for Mickey, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't use a lot of page builders, or any, but the question I have for Mickey is: it sounded like that Divi is the only page builder that's being represented here that doesn't have a freemium model, that you have to pay to use it.
That's correct.
Right from the get-go.
That's
and I'm
right.
curious, like that adoption rate where you don't have something to start to try it out for a good period of time and then move up to the pro version, how that affects like that Divi community, and how you I guess get people to buy into it before they can and pay for it before they can really use it for free.
Right. That's a good question, Mike. I think the experience with Divi for most people is once you start using it, you like it. Now, whether, when you dig down, you get into, issues with it, like we've been talking about, that's another thing. And I think they balance not having a freemium model with the fact that just from the get-go, for $89 for a year, you get unlimited sites. You could build as many, there's no, 5-site, 10-site, 1,500 site, licensing. And I think that's a big selling point. The other thing is, no one's hearing me say this, but if you know someone who has a Divi license, Divi allows you.
This is being recorded. So.
Oh, well, okay, that's okay. Divi allows you to generate your own APIs, your own codes. And first of all, you can use Divi without the code. You just won't get any updates. But secondly, if you know someone who uses Divi, they could lend you an API, a code, until you decide whether to buy it or not. But it's not like, I'm going to go out on Craigslist and, start selling codes for $5 a piece.
Well, the thing is that you can legally distribute Divi as much as you want, because WordPress is GPL.
And so is Divi. Divi's yes. Also GPL.
Yes.
So legally, you
can't. It has to be.
It has to be, right?
You just might not get the.
Be careful. I would just say be careful. There are some GPL download sites out there that you can get a lot of premium plugins for free, but just note that the source isn't really trusted. So you really need to know what you're doing if you're going to try to use one of those.
Of course. But I'm just saying that no one can go after you for using code that was built on open source WordPress.
Right.
I have something to comment to add about Divi. So I think one of the really powerful features with Divi is they have A/B testing in the interface, like it's added.
Yes.
And
I forgot to mention that.
That's a big one not to mention.
Yeah. So coming from the whole user experience world, knowing that there are people literally employed as A/B testers in 6 figures, A/B testing is huge. So I can see people like me, other user experience designers, working with page builders and not wanting to learn Google Analytics for A/B testing, because that's the other option, to figure out analytics and input that in your site, or to switch to another page builder that has it built in.
Right.
So I could see that being a selling point. You don't have to try the free version to be sold.
Mm.
To be honest, they don't seem to really advertise the A/B testing as much as they probably should. I think it was something that they built a couple years ago to meet a need, and then sort of branched out in other directions from there. But you're right, it's there. It's, you set it up in the back end, but it's pretty powerful if you want to test two different options.
Laura, is there an A/B testing block? Because if there isn't, I'm going to build it.
That seems like it could be a really interesting plugin. There should be plugins for it. Is
He's
Laura
not
listening?
listening.
That's the plan. I'm going to build an A/B testing block for Gutenberg. I like that idea. It doesn't exist already. Probably does. Every good idea is already taken. Cool. Let's see. I'm going to go. Next question is for Mickey again.
Uh-oh.
I've used Divi's available layouts, quick and easy, almost instant website. Actually, that was not so much a question. That was more of a statement. Okay. I will.
I think it follows into the second part of that question.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That does follow into the second part. Thank you, Laura, for pointing that out. I'll read those as two things, or as the same thing. I've used Divi's available layouts, quick and easy, almost instant website. However, it rated very poorly with ADA, American Disability Act. Do you have any thoughts or comments on that?
I mean, I don't know if I agree. I think Randy wrote that comment.
Yep, Randy wrote that.
Randy's a member of Central Jersey. Hi, Randy. Actually, the Divi Meetup just in February had a presentation on Divi and accessibility. So it was really about using Divi to test accessibility, but then also what other tools are available to see if your site's going to be accessible. And there's some standards out there. There are things you can do with Divi to make it pass. Not make it pass, allow it to pass the accessibility tests, with fonts and color matching and things like that. And but it's an issue that you have to pay attention to, and it's not something built into Divi saying, here are these accessibility features. You have to know what to do to fix it.
Cool.
I think that's true with every page builder, is even Gutenberg and even just core WordPress. Like, you have to understand what the compliance is and how to meet the compliance, and then how to solve those particular problems. It's not necessarily the page builder causing the issues. It might be how you're inserting images, or how you're labeling images, or how you're setting how you're setting your H1, H2, H3s. It could be, there's so many different things that you just have to understand what you're trying to achieve, and then getting whatever tool you're using to achieve that.
For sure.
So it's not the page builder causing the issue. It's how you're using the page builder.
Cool. Thank you. John asks, and this is a question for everybody, and this should get some interesting answers. What builder gets the best speed ranks for Google? Don't all answer at once.
I don't know.
It really depends on the server.
I mean, you can go bad with anybody. Like, I'm thinking, we have a page that we built in old Gutenberg, but this one client is insisted on this 30-second video clip that just brings this page to a screeching halt. It is god awful, and she loves it, but like, it's killing her SEO. But is it Gutenberg's fault? Not so much, as the client is insistent on having the video clip at a certain resolution from hell. So, I mean, it kind of depends what people insist on having.
It's your content.
I think the only way to really know is to build an identical page in 5 different page builders, put it all on the identical server, and then do some tests. That's the only way you're really going to know, because page speed is impacted by so many different things that
winner is oxygen.
Right. I mean, I'm just even thinking about sliders too. Like, how many of us have seen a slider and it's like, hello, image number 14.
Right.
How about image number 70? I had a slider that had 70 slides in it.
I can believe you. I can believe it. Yeah. So it's there's just so much
because
going
you
in
can
there.
doesn't mean you should.
Right. For sure.
So yeah, I think the takeaway here is consider your content. You know, large videos are going to drag down your site. Large images will drag down your site. Too much JavaScript will drag down your site. You know,
Yeah.
just too much content on a page that
Right.
doesn't have some level of
Lazy
optimization,
load is
be
your
it lazy
friend.
loading or anything, is going to drag down your site. So, you know,
And caching is great.
caching's great, but still,
When-
there's still that page load that,
Right.
that you have to
when
deal
it
with.
works,
When it works.
Caching, it's, yeah, if you can find a caching solution that works with your stack, then
Yeah.
I have a caching problem.
Have you ever heard of
where,
Cream
yeah,
caching? Was it caching rules every aspect of my existence? Or something like that. Yeah, that's every great thing that has happened on the site, and every terrible thing that's happened on the site usually involves caching.
Right.
Cool. All right. Answer that. Caleb has a question, and this is an interesting question. I'm curious about what some of your answers might be. What's the best page builder to start with someone who has front-end experience? So someone that is actually considers themselves a developer, and just to use a page builder to, you know, make their lives easier. Which one, you know, might not be like, might kind of embrace someone that knows a thing or two about a thing or two.
Well, I know with Elementor, there's very easy ways to add CSS and JavaScript into every page. However, from this discussion, it looks like Oxygen Builder might win.
I mean, that
So-
opportunity is sitting in there in Gutenberg. I mean, it's absolutely in there in each and every block to add in custom CSS for
Or
sure.
write your own
It's
block.
in there.
yeah, I think all the page builders have that. Like you can add any class or any ID to any module, and then have a CSS for that module on. Yeah, it's like all the page builders have that. It's just
All right, so I have
standard now.
I have a question for everybody representing a page builder, because I know this answer for Gutenberg. So if I'm to use Gutenberg and I want to create my own block, it's very easy. There's APIs available to build, like whether I want to build it with straight JavaScript and the you know, the way WordPress documentation tells you how to write a block, or if I want to use something like advanced custom fields to build a block in a more straightforward, easy way. Do each of your page builders, like as far as like building the different like modules, do they offer like APIs for a developer to be able to be like, I want to build a particular module in Beaver Builder or Divi or Elementor as a developer, like build something very specific for like a client, like an easy way to build these new things?
So I'll answer. So if you like keeping your data outside of a page builder, like let's say you want to keep all your data in advanced custom fields, you can map fields in Beaver Builder to ACF fields and groups, so that you know, so that mapping is there. And then anytime you want to edit the data, you're doing it through ACF. You're not actually doing it in the page builder. That's kind of cool. So especially if you're like a very data heavy, data intensive site, you do all those mappings up front and you don't have to worry about it. You update your data, you're pushing it through JSON, you're pushing it through, you know, however you're importing your data, you don't have to worry about remapping that data connection. It's there. It's pretty cool.
For Divi, Mike, Divi has a particular developer APIs for modules, and in addition, they actually have a version of Divi I assume it's a plugin version that's specific for developers that gives them the hooks that they need to develop and test different modules. So I know they have a pretty strong developer core that does a lot of stuff with Divi. And what Cam mentioned ACF, and I know Divi supports it, but also there's the ability to use dynamic content in a lot of the modules as well, which is standard for like a blog post, right? That automatically uses dynamic content when you want to display the blog, but there's lots of other hooks for dynamic content in Divi.
Cool. So we have one last question left. As of now, someone might ask another question, but there's one last question here that Asim has asked. Which page builder is most popular among agencies? I mean, for someone running a small WordPress agency, which page builder is best for business? So I guess like,
Question.
I found quite a lot of Elementor agencies out there, or not too many agencies. I found a lot of people who are more into like marketing and getting clients, and then they pass it on to people like me who build their sites alone, because that's the great thing about these page builders. You don't need a front-end developer to work with. So I've seen quite a few places like that. And then there are Elementor agencies. I actually think on elementor.com you can get connected to an agency or a freelancer. They have an experts tab for that.
Yeah, cool. So Beaver Builder has an agency license, so you can use it on unlimited number of sites, and it also has white labeling. So Beaver Builder is kind of a funny name. So if you're trying to sell a client on, hey, Beaver Builder, like what? And so you can change the name of it. You could call it Client Page Builder, like XYZ Page Builder. You can white label everything, which is kind of cool. I think other page builders have that as well, but it's built right into the agency version of Beaver Builder.
I mean, I think it depends on the agency. I think when you had a great point, like sometimes there are marketing firms that are selling themselves as like a soup to nuts kind of place. Like, you know, you can get your window cling for your building and we'll do your website too. You know, they tend to be page builder people, or they will outsource that to somebody who builds in a particular page builder. You know, it kind of depends upon when you say agency, what do you mean by that? What is it that agency does? And then there were also plenty of, you know, people who do managed hosting. Aside from us building stuff, we do managed hosting. We have inherited sites built in all manner of page builders, some of which were built by agencies, some were built by solopreneurs. I don't know that there's a specific answer out there as to what's the most popular one in an agency. I would say my feeling is of the other page builders represented here, not Gutenberg, to my perspective, they're all about equal in the market as far as I've seen.
I would say it's most like a lot of agencies have tools in their tool chest, and some just like you have some agencies that gravitate more towards Drupal, some more towards WordPress.
Right.
You'll have WordPress agencies that gravitate more towards like Genesis or some that have like a parent theme they've built already. It's about the tools you have in your tool belt and what you're comfortable using. And if what you evangelize behind which page builder and which tools. I think that's kind of the answer you're looking for. So usually the tool you know best and the thing that does the job for what you're trying to do is probably the right answer for that. As long as you believe in it and you think that it's got a future, I think that's important. We're exactly at 9 o'clock, which rarely ever happens that we kind of get to a concluding space at right around the time that we prepare to close. I want to thank every single one of these panelists. You guys put on such a great demonstration, great conversation, great answers. I got a lot out of it. I'm sure everybody watching got a lot out of it. If you have any other questions, we didn't post it, but we do have a Slack channel. Every single person on this panel is in our Jersey Press Slack channel. I am going to grab the link at this very moment and put it in the chat. So if you are not a member of our Slack channel, we discuss things daily, page builders, SEO, business. We have a jobs channel.
Have we tested that since I moved the site to a new server?
No. Does it work?
Let's see.
Hit us up in Meetup.
Well,
if it doesn't work for you, ask us a question in Meetup, and we'll get you the link eventually.
Yeah, it looks like the link is still up, so it looks like we're still good.
No, I mean, but does the email get sent? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
If it doesn't, if you can't, I was saying if you can't get in, just send us
put
a message in the Meetup in that Meetup channel. We'll get it taken care of it.
But yeah, we'll definitely take care of that if that's the case. But yeah, join our Slack. We have where people are posting jobs if you're looking for new jobs, or if you have a job that you want to post about. We have a networking channel where you could get teamed up with somebody else every other week in our community to, it's called Donut, but you can chat for a half hour or an hour about, you might find like a really great connection there. We have a very, very active community. It represents all three groups, the Central Jersey, the Morris County group, and the Montclair group. And yeah, and also like in our general chat, if anybody has any ideas, like this is our first panel we did, but if you want to hear other panels, you know, we have a lot of, now we're working with a much bigger leadership, so we're able to spread out the effort to put these meetups together while we're virtual. We can find panelists for a panel. If you have a presentation you want to hear, we'll find a good presenter. Like, you know, we have a much bigger pond to fish in now that we're virtual, since we're not
and so for
limited to
April,
just local.
April 12th, I don't think we have anything scheduled yet.
We don't have anything scheduled yet. So if you have anything you want to hear, especially something we haven't done or haven't done in a while, please let us know either in Meetup, in Slack, and yeah, yeah, hopefully we'll have the next one scheduled soon, and it'll be a good one. I hope everybody got a lot out of this.
And so our next meetup is in 2 weeks. It's the WordPress Hangout.
That's for Montclair. So Montclair is still doing our just regular hangout, but this is a joint meetup that all three groups are working towards. The other meetups might still have other things that they're doing. Montclair is still doing our every other week hangout. Central Jersey might do something, Morris County might still do something, but this kind of once a month meetup, we're trying to put something really big and interesting together, leveraging all of the co-organizers from all the meetups to do something just for the general Jersey press community.
I also wanted to say that you could offer to speak at a meetup too. I just dropped a link in the chat for a workshop for people who want to be WordPress speakers. I took this workshop last month and it was really very helpful.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, totally just supporting what Win just said there. You know what, we all have places where we start and everybody's got something valuable to say in this community. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be a longtime user. I'm here to tell you I've been using WordPress from 2006. I did not say a thing at a meetup or a WordPress event until probably 2016. So it took me a decade before I shared anything.
I am almost the same way. It took me quite a while before I did my first Flash Talk. And that actually might be an interesting thing. If anybody in the community wants to do a Flash Talk, something that's 5 to 10 minutes long, just something you want to present, we might be able to grab like something like 8 people to do like 5 to 10 minute Flash Talks on something they want to present.
Even if it's just like a plugin you have to have, like give a 10 minute, a 15 minute on, hey, this is how this plugin solved this problem for me. This is what it did. This was my problem. And hopefully you could use it too. Something like that is amazing.